Alright guys, buckle up, because the Eagles have just turned this trade deadline into absolute chaos, in the best possible way. It's the kind of bold, all-in energy you expect from a team that knows its window to grab another Lombardi is wide open. After a quiet start to the week, Philly's front office decided to go full throttle, pulling off not one but two big-time moves that could reshape the rest of the season. We're talking about a reunion between Vic Fangio and a young, explosive pass rusher, plus a surprising trade for a former superstar corner who once dominated the league but has struggled to stay healthy. There's a lot to unpack here, and trust me, it's worth it. So let's start with the big picture. The bye week couldn't have gone better for the Birds. They got to sit back, rest up, and watch the Panthers pull off an upset win over the Packers. That result alone pushed the Eagles right into the top spot in the NFC. And now, as we hit the midway point of the season, Philly's path toward the #1 seed and that all-important first-round bye is right there in front of them. Of course, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. The schedule ahead is brutal, and it starts immediately with a Monday night showdown against Green Bay. Vegas actually has the Eagles listed as 2.5-point road underdogs, which only adds more fire to what's already shaping up to be one of the most anticipated games of the season. But the biggest headlines didn't come from the field, they came from the front office. Over the weekend, Howie Roseman pulled another one of his classic sneaky moves, landing cornerback Jaire Alexander in a deal with the Baltimore Ravens. The Eagles sent a 6th-round pick in 2026 and got back Alexander plus a 7th-round pick in 2027. Now, on paper, it might not sound like a blockbuster, but there's a lot more to this deal than meets the eye. Because at his best, Alexander wasn't just a good cornerback. He was one of the elite ones in the league. We're talking multiple Pro Bowl nods, All-Pro recognition, and the kind of lockdown coverage that made opposing quarterbacks think twice about even looking his way. Of course, that was a few seasons ago, and since then, things haven't exactly gone smoothly for him. Injuries have piled up, and over the last couple of years, he's had trouble staying on the field. This season alone, he's appeared in just 2 games, giving up completions on every target thrown his way. The numbers don't lie, and they're not pretty. Over 100 yards allowed and a passer rating north of 110 when targeted. That's a far cry from the dominant version of Alexander we saw in his prime. But here's the thing. When he's healthy, he can still play. He's not quite the same guy from his peak years, but the flashes are there. He moves well, he's physical, and he has that confident swagger you need at corner. And you can bet the Eagles are hoping that a fresh start and a reunion with defensive backs coach Christian Parker, someone who knows him well and believes in him, could help unlock that again. Still, his health is the big question. The knee has been a problem, and until we see him string together some solid snaps, it's fair to wonder how much he's really got left in the tank. But considering the price tag, this trade feels like a smart gamble. A late-round pick for a player who, if he finds even a fraction of his old form, could turn into a major contributor down the stretch. That's the kind of low-risk, high-reward move that Howie Roseman seems to have mastered. And honestly, if it doesn't work out, it's not like the Eagles mortgaged the future to make it happen. Plus, the timing couldn't be better. Philly's cornerback room has been a bit of a revolving door this season, and adding someone with Alexander's experience could be huge, even if he's not a full-time starter right away. Guys like Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, and Jacorian Bennett have shown flashes, and Ringo especially has looked solid lately, but the group could definitely use some veteran stability. Having Alexander in the mix gives Fangio more flexibility, more options, and maybe even some extra motivation for the younger guys to elevate their play. But as much as the Alexander deal got people talking, that wasn't the only headline from Philly's front office this week. The question that's been buzzing for days was whether the Eagles would go after an edge rusher before the deadline. And as it turns out, the answer is a big yes. Reports came in Monday morning that the Birds have traded for Miami Dolphins pass rusher Jalen Phillips, sending a 3rd-round pick in 2026 back in return. Now that's the kind of move that can make a real impact, not just this year, but potentially for the future as well. Phillips is one of those players who just fits the Philly mindset. He's big, athletic, explosive off the edge, and plays with a ton of energy. When healthy, he's been one of the more productive young pass rushers in the league, posting seasons with 7, 8.5, and 6.5 sacks. This year alone, he's already recorded 25 tackles and 3 sacks, while ranking among the top dozen edge defenders in total pressures. That kind of production on a defensive front that already features names like Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, and rookie Nolan Smith makes this group downright scary. Fangio knows exactly what he's getting with Phillips, too. The two worked together back in 2023 during their time in Miami, and it's no secret Fangio's a big believer in his potential. It's easy to see why. Phillips brings a blend of speed and power that can completely change the tone of a defense. He can line up wide, crash inside, and has the versatility to play in multiple fronts, a perfect match for Fangio's system. And beyond the stats, there's the chemistry. Having that comfort with the scheme and the coach makes it a lot easier to hit the ground running, especially for a mid-season acquisition. The hope is that with a deeper rotation and better matchups, Phillips can stay fresh and consistent throughout the back half of the season. Of course, there are risks here, too. Phillips has battled through some serious injuries in recent years, including an Achilles tear and a partial ACL tear, both of which cost him significant time. Durability will be something the Eagles have to manage carefully. Plus, he's entering free agency after this season, so there's always the chance he could be a half-season rental. Giving up a third-round pick for that kind of uncertainty is no small price. But again, the Eagles are in win-now mode, and when you're this close to a Super Bowl-caliber roster, sometimes you have to push the chips in and take your shot. This move also comes at a crucial time for the defense, especially after losing both Marcus Epps and Azeezah Ojulari to injured reserve. Those injuries thinned out the depth chart, and bringing in someone like Phillips not only strengthens the pass rush, but also helps stabilize the rotation up front. You can feel the confidence building again around this unit, and if Phillips stays healthy, that front seven might just become one of the most feared in the league once more. Meanwhile, the Packers, the Eagles' next opponent, are dealing with some brutal luck of their own. Tight end Tucker Kraft went down in their game against Carolina with what looks like a torn ACL, and that's a massive blow for Green Bay's offense. He's been one of their best weapons this season, ranking near the top of the league among tight ends in both yards and touchdowns. Losing him right before facing an Eagles defense that's starting to hit its stride couldn't come at a worse time for them. Now, looking beyond the immediate excitement, what these trades really show is how serious the Eagles are about fixing their weak spots before they become long-term problems. That's been the trademark of this front office for years. Howie Roseman never waits for things to collapse. He sees cracks in the armor and fills them before they widen. Bringing in Jaire Alexander and Jalen Phillips at this exact point in the season feels like one of those proactive moves that could completely shift the team's defensive identity heading into the playoff stretch. And the timing couldn't be better, because the next few weeks will define where this team stands in the NFC hierarchy. When you look at the numbers, the Eagles' defense has been decent, but not elite. They've had moments of dominance, but there have also been too many breakdowns in coverage, especially on third down. That's where someone like Alexander, even if he's not the same player he once was, could make a real difference. He brings experience, instincts, and that competitive fire that young players can learn from. Even if he doesn't return to all-pro form, having him around to mentor guys like Keely Ringo and Jacorian Bennett could have a ripple effect through the entire secondary. Ringo, in particular, looks like he's starting to come into his own. His physicality and discipline have improved, and adding another veteran presence could only accelerate that growth. But what really stands out about these trades is how they fit with what Vic Fangio wants to build. His defensive philosophy relies on flexibility and discipline. He wants corners who can play tight coverage and pass rushers who can collapse the pocket without blitzing too much. Phillips fits that mold perfectly. He's got the length, the burst, and the technique to get home quickly, which takes pressure off the back end. Fangio loves to rotate his linemen to keep them fresh, and now with Phillips joining Sweat, Graham, and Nolan Smith, he can do that without losing much production. It also lets guys like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter play more aggressively, knowing they'll have fresh edge help every series. The key now will be chemistry. Trades this late in the season can sometimes take time to gel, but that's where the coaching staff earns its money. Fangio has worked with Phillips before, so there's a level of trust and familiarity that should speed things up. And for Alexander, reuniting with defensive backs coach Christian Parker could help him adapt quickly to the system. Parker knows how to bring the best out of his corners, and if anyone can help Jaire regain his confidence, it's him. It's also worth remembering that sometimes a change of scenery can do wonders for a player who's been struggling. A fresh locker room, a new scheme, and a playoff contender's energy might be exactly what Alexander needs to reset and refocus. Now, stepping back from the trades, let's talk about what this all means heading into Monday night against the Packers. This isn't just another game. It's a statement opportunity. The Eagles are coming off a bye, they're healthy, and they've got reinforcements on the way. The Packers, meanwhile, are banged up and missing one of their biggest offensive weapons. If the Eagles' defense can take advantage of that and apply early pressure, this could be the kind of game that sets the tone for the second half of the season. You can expect Fangio to dial up creative fronts, maybe get Phillips in some early reps, and test how the Packers' offensive line handles the added speed on the edge. The offense, of course, will have to hold up its end of the deal too. But the encouraging thing is that this team doesn't have to rely on shootouts to win anymore. With the pieces they've added, the defense is built to control games, force turnovers, and protect leads. That's something that was missing at times earlier in the year when the secondary struggled and the pass rush couldn't finish drives. These new moves might finally bring that balance back. And in a league where playoff success often comes down to who can get stops in January, that could be the difference between a deep run and an early exit. What's also fascinating about all of this is how it fits the broader story of the Eagles' season. A lot of teams would have been satisfied sitting at the top of their conference and just waiting things out. Not this group. The leadership here refuses to get complacent. You can see that mindset in the locker room, from the veterans who've been through Super Bowl runs to the rookies who are hungry for more. It's that blend of urgency and confidence that makes this roster so dangerous. When you have an organization that's aggressive off the field and a team that's hungry on it, that's when special things happen. Still, there's a lot that has to go right for all of this to work. Phillips has to stay healthy and productive. Alexander has to find his rhythm and prove he can still cover at a high level. The young corners need to keep developing. The defensive front has to keep winning battles up front. But the ceiling is there, and it's sky high. This team now has a defensive line rotation that can rival any in the league. And if the secondary starts clicking, it's going to be very hard for anyone to move the ball consistently against them. And let's be honest, there's something special about the way this city responds when the Eagles make these kinds of bold moves. You can feel the buzz already. Fans know what it looks like when the organization is going for it. And that energy carries over to the players. Philly feeds off that underdog-turned-powerhouse vibe, and right now, they're leaning fully into it. The stadium is going to be electric on Monday night, and with all these storylines coming together, this game could end up being one of the defining moments of the season. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments, and let's talk birds. The NFL world is buzzing with whispers that could shake the very foundations of the NFC East. Sources close to the league claim that the Philadelphia Eagles are on the verge of pulling off a move that nobody saw coming: the potential acquisition of quarterback Jordan Love. If true, this could redefine the Eagles roster and spark one of the most controversial conversations of the season. Love, known for his rocket arm and surprising mobility, has long been viewed as a rising talent waiting for the right opportunity to break out. His development behind a legendary starter has drawn attention from teams eager to inject fresh energy into their offensive schemes. Philadelphia, a team that has dominated headlines in recent years with bold drafts and strategic trades, may be positioning itself for a seismic shakeup. Insiders hint that the Eagles' front office has been quietly courting Love, evaluating every nuance of his game and imagining how he could fit into their high-octane offense. Fans are split. Some see Love as the missing piece that could vault the Eagles into perennial contender status, while others fear that this move could disrupt the chemistry of a team that has been steadily climbing the NFC East ladder. Social media is alight with speculation, memes, and heated debates, all centered on one question: could Jordan Love be the new face of the Eagles? While the details remain murky, the mere possibility of Love in green and white has sent rival teams into panic mode. The Cowboys, Commanders, and Giants are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, knowing that the Eagles' gambit could tilt the balance of power in the division for years to come. One thing is certain: if this rumor turns out to be true, the NFC East is about to experience a level of excitement, controversy, an intrigue rarely seen in the modern NFL. Stay tuned. This story is far from over. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.